Hey, what is up, everyone? It's Rich. All right, it's Bernie Wrightson's birthday, and there's no way that I'm gonna let Bernie Wrightson's birthday go by without at least doing a small celebration of it. So I'm shooting this at night. I don't normally shoot videos at night, but let's just do it. Hold on, I need to check one thing. Okay, I just want to make sure this is recording. All right, so let's get into this. Bernie Wrightson's Frankenstein. We're going to just go look at some kick-ass stuff. The cover is a little pixelated, so I apologize for that, but the book itself is not too bad. From what I understand, Bernie did this over a period of about 7 years. And they are amazing. They're so cool. There's a secondary book that you can get that's the unreleased, or I can't remember the exact title of it. Yeah, I can't remember the exact title of it. I don't own it, honestly. I've seen it and been tempted to get it, and I'm sure at some point I will. It's long out of print, but this is the back cover of this. There's a company doing a new Frankenstein print. They might have a series of them. They've been somehow accessing the original files. The piece is the spread from the book, so that sold on Heritage. It looked to me like they cleaned up the scan a little bit, because the scan that they had on Heritage had yellowed a lot, and I was a little surprised. If you've seen it in my other videos of Wrightson, I've shown it. But it actually did brown quite a bit more than a lot of his other pieces. I can't really speculate why. The only thing I can think of is because it's a spread and it might have been quite big in person, there's a chance that he used a different board than he used for the interior, like the other pieces. But I don't know that for a fact. That's the only thing that I can guess. It also could have been where it was stored. But one thing you will see with the Wrightson stuff that I don't know if people necessarily realize, there's no hatching in this work to speak of. I think the perception is that there's a lot of hatching. I've talked about this before, because sometimes when I'll show my pen and ink work, people will go, it reminds me of Wrightson stuff, and that's a big compliment. Trust me, I'm not saying that. But if you really look at Bernie's stuff, although he does have lines that go different directions, it's very rare that you'll see actual hatches, meaning that there's like lines that cross each other. I mean, we can find examples of it, but it's not really the style that he did. So it is interesting, because I don't know if people are as aware of that as they might think. The way that he ends up doing fades with this style, as opposed to when you hatch, which means that generally lines will get closer together and create gradation, which just means fade. I think, I don't know. His lines will generally get thicker and closer together, but you'll see some intersecting lines here, but they're not crossing. The hatch does not cross. Stop being a dick, Rich. I guarantee there's people watching this video that had no idea. But anyway, I'm not an expert on my cat crying in the living room. I'm not really an expert on all the old school pen and ink guys, to be honest. I do like Franklin Booth's stuff a lot, but past that, I never really studied that work very much. I have, like, I think one Gustav Dorr book, maybe two. For me personally, I had never really gotten into it that much, but Bernie's stuff was always really cool to me. I think the content of Frankenstein makes it a lot of fun too. We're kind of going backwards, so as the book winds down, there's a little bit more sort of ambient stuff, but to us it's great. But Bernie's stuff is so fun to look at. He has such a great eye for design, and it's just really cool work. So I knew that this would be fun to check out. Get a little bit of Franklin Booth stuff going here, but there's Joseph Clement Coles. There's maybe Virgil Finlay, although Finlay kind of worked in a different way, or Finlay. This is great. Yeah, you know, it's one thing that I enjoy about when I go back and revisit this Frankenstein book is inevitably there's a piece or two that will have kind of fallen off my radar. So when I look through the book, you know, there'll be a couple of pieces that just for whatever reason kind of drifted out of my awareness, and then when I see them, I go, "Oh, that's right, I forgot about this one." And so it's always kind of a treat to come back and look at this book. I've never done a video as far as I can remember. I did one for Patreon earlier in the month on this exact book, but I don't know if I have a public video where I actually focus on Frankenstein. So this is, as far as I'm aware, well, this will be the second because of the Patreon one. The Patreon one's 35 minutes long. This will be shorter, but usually my videos for Patreon, I get a little bit more into the nuts and bolts of stuff. It might make people on public YouTube uncomfortable. Possibly. I go through the work like a surgeon. Ah, this is so cool. Tim Bradstreet was good friends with Bernie Wrightson, and he was so nice. And Tim and I are pretty good friends. I haven't seen him in a while. I actually was kind of worried about him because he hasn't really been online much, but hopefully he's doing okay. But he always was hanging out with like Bernie Wrightson at shows and would always be like, "Come over and talk to him, man." I'm like, oh, I took him up on it once or twice, but I was always like, kind of like I'd just pop in and be like, I don't know what you really say, you know. It's like coming up to a stranger and being just like, "Oh, you're awesome." Especially at a con. I mean, people are busy. It's not really like the best scenario to like make a connection like that way. But man, this is awesome. I've always been a big fan of like ocean drawings. I think that they're really, really cool. I love to see people draw like waves and stuff like that. I think it's very, very cool. But again, you can see there's really no cross hatching in this work at all. You know, but if you see scans of the originals, or if you ever are fortunate enough to see one of these in person, there's very little white on the pieces, and this is really, really funny because I don't know if I said it in the Patreon video, but one of my mantras for my black drawing pieces is I really, really do just about everything in my power to avoid using whiteout on the pieces. I just think that it's a cheat, and if you're going to do pen and ink to the highest level, that no whiteout is allowed as an effect. I mean, I'll draw around stars and stuff like that. And it was funny is because there's a couple of short interviews with Bernie on YouTube, and he said that, and it really kind of shocked me because I had said it for years. I mean, I'm talking like 14 or 15 years. That's always been my kind of thing, and I was kind of like, wow, that's really weird that he would say that. And it made me think, I'm like, I wonder if like years ago, I don't know how old that video is, because I know for a fact that for at least 14 or 15 years I've felt that way, and probably before, because I'm so like, I don't know if OCD would be the right word, but I'm very particular. And I thought that was really trippy though, but it did make me wonder if I heard him say that, and then I was like, kind of like, just put it in the catalog somewhere. But I'd have to check the dates of when it was uploaded to YouTube, because if it's not as old as that, then it wouldn't be possible that the two match like that, you know what I mean, I would have that information. But anyway, but yeah, man, these are badass. I saw this online recently. This might be one of the other prints that they had. The other spread that we just looked at was the one that's the new print. It looks great. I don't have room for a print, or I would get it, but they're really, really cool. I'm still holding out for the artist edition book, is what I'm really hoping that they do. It seems like it just has to happen. So I'm optimistic that it eventually will. My thing is put as many as you can find into the book and then just fill it with other stuff, watercolor pieces. They could easily put together a 140-page Wrightson book with as many Frankenstein pieces as they could get, and everybody would be thrilled. We would get what we get, and we wouldn't throw a fit. I have this piece hanging up on my wall. It's literally, I could reach my arm over to the left and touch it. I pretty much always will have, I mean, the most pieces that I have from one artist in my office right now is Frazetta, and I think second is Struzen. But I generally will have like one Wrightson piece up, but I've got a lot of Frazetta. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like 10 or 11 Frazetta images up. And then I think 5 Struzen. But the Struzen are big posters. But man, this is one of my favorite pieces. This is great too. I think I want to say that there might be a second version of this, or one that didn't get finished. I feel like I've seen like a second iteration of this, and it's, look, these pieces are really, really challenging. You can get in 50% into a piece like this and have it kind of come off the rails. This is a lot of shit to do. You get one area that you zone out and make it too dark, and all of a sudden the composition gets thrown off, and you don't use whiteout. You're starting over. So yeah, you gotta be careful. From what I understand, he did plan these pieces out quite accurately, so that there was no room for doubt. It's kind of how you have to work. I love these little ledges with the white. The white, honestly, it's funny because some of my favorite stuff that he does in this book is the white areas. And in fact, it made me think, and I wondered if Frank Miller was inspired by this for Elektra and some of the other stuff he did. I'll show you the piece, but yeah, it reminded me a little bit of Elektra Assassin, and I was kind of like, I could see Frank seeing it and just kind of going like, that looks really cool. Because Wrightson really did use a lot of the positive negative kind of thing in his work. So this is cool. This is kind of one that I sometimes forget about. And this actually does have a little bit of, like, it looks like hatching in here. The problem with hatching is it can get really, really ugly if you use it too much. This looks like it might be hatched too. Yeah, there's some hatching in here. Yeah, you really like he's got very light hatching here, and then like kind of hatching on this guy's clothes. But if his only rendering technique was hatching, and he had hatching here and hatching here, and then tried to hatch this to like a fade, like say he wanted it to fade dark this way, it turns into a mess. It really doesn't look good. It doesn't look cool. It's got a little bit up in here, but it's such a small area. But yeah, you'll get in over your head. You will drown in hatching, and you will make your piece look just overly busy and kind of like repelling to the eye. It's a lot of days of drawing grass, I'll tell you what. It's funny because and I appreciate the comments, trust me, but I'll see people will sometimes throw out like information in the comments section, and I read it and I go, this person has never drawn anything like this. Their barometer of how long like something would take is like so off. But it's fine. Give it a shot and see. This is a great one too. All the ones in the rain are awesome. Oh, this is so good. And there's still some hatching in here, and then again on here. One of my favorite effects that he gets is this dotted effect, where like you have so many lines that crisscross, that it just creates little dots in between, but it's super super tight, and it really gets a cool effect with the like sort of speckles. Oh, this is so good too. This is all really really beautiful. Bling bling bling, bling 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 bling. Whoo, a lot of grass. 1977. So if I was gonna guess, I would say that he worked on this from maybe around 1973 or 1974 to 19. Well, I swear it was 7 years that he worked on it. Maybe it came out like 79. 80 sounds too late. These are all 77. I mean, based on the pieces that I did, and I had a couple of drawings that I did that took 200 hours, but most took between like around 30 to 42 hours ish. I don't normally keep track of time, but I can figure it out by how many days they took. Most I was able to do in a week of nights, meaning that I would work from 8 o'clock at night till about 3 in the morning, and I could finish them in about 7 days. But laying them out would take like a day or two. Penciling it would take like 5 or 6 hours, and then drawing the rest of it in ink would take days. But you could definitely do a couple of these a month if you're working on them all the time. But from what I understand, he wasn't working on them all the time. This was something that he did, as a personal project. And from what I heard too, was that it was not. He just did it and assumed that it would get published. So it wasn't like he wasn't hired to do it. I don't know if that's factual, but that is what I believe to be true. This is great. So this is 76. But again, if the thing is too is like, I mean, I was working full time in comics and doing my black drawing pieces at night. So I would ink a page a day and then come home and draw for another, I don't know, 7 hours probably. It was hard, it's not an easy thing to do. But if you've got it in you, and you want to get it out, you'll do whatever it takes. Because it's in you, and it's got to come out. Oh, it's cool. This is another, I swear, I don't remember this piece, and I just looked at this stuff like a few weeks ago. I'd be curious of what I said in the Patreon video when we looked at it. Probably the same exact thing. Well, this one doesn't stay with me for whatever reason. This does, though. Oh, man, that's so crazy. The bottom of her dress is great. This one. I actually redrew this one time, years and years ago. I don't know if I don't think I was professional yet. I did this. I did a J.C. Linedecker piece. I did a J. Scott Campbell Gen 13 cover. It's just like I think I was just getting into like comic art and stuff like that, and I didn't really know what to do or how to start. So I did some like copy pieces and then started working on my own stuff. Or I think then I met an inker. I don't remember the order. But yeah, somewhere I have actually a reproduction that I drew of this. Bam! That is cool. So this is the piece that like I kind of wondered if it could have been the catalyst for some of the techniques that Frank Miller used, possibly. It seems plausible. It's really really cool though. But again, I really really enjoy the white. It is pretty. Okay. Naked Frankenstein. Coming to say hello. He's like, I need a blanket. He's like, dude, there's blankets in the living room. Just get out of my bedroom, bro. This is getting weird. Can I sleep with you? It's like, no. Go back to the lab. This stuff is so cool. These he might have just like had like a grid and then just left the dots, because it would be too much work to sit and hatch just to get that. But you could easily just have like lines, and then where they intersect just put dots, and it would look real pretty. Pretty. My pretty. All right. Oh yeah. The cover. Boom, boom, boom. Great feet. Oh, this is good too. I really like this piece. Something very cozy about it. It looks like an artist's office to me, you know? Like, you could draw, like, you know, you just need your drafting table like this. You could get down to business and do some cool shit. Draw naked ladies. He's even got this, like, cool window, too. Although it might create some weird shadows at certain times of the day. Kind of gotta hustle because I need to get back to work myself. Speaking of work, trying to finish a piece. It's interesting. So this one isn't dated. I don't know if like at some point. Oh no, this is 77. So he clearly didn't work in order then either. I had actually said that in the Patreon video that I was curious of if he had started. We're going from the back of the book to the front right now, but there was definitely pieces after this that were 76. So that is kind of interesting. Unless this came up out of order and this is later in the book, which kind of almost seems right. Yeah, I don't know. Have to grab my book. Some people have like the fancy hardcover. Mine's just like a white and red and black soft cover, but I got it a long time ago. I've had it really pretty much since I've been working in comics. I don't really understand why they've never reprinted it. There must be some sort of issue with it, because I think you could re-release this every like 10 years, and even someone like me, I would buy it every time probably. And you could throw in all that stuff that's in the extras book. I love this piece. So, all right, you guys have a great day. Bernie Wrightson, happy birthday. We wish you were still here with us. Your work continues to inspire really just a generation after generation of artists. Like, so pivotal and so important. So I found a new artist that I got into recently, and his like he had almost all of his favorite artists were the same artists that I was into, and of course he was a fan of Wrightson, you know. So all right, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one. Bye.